know you're gonna meet me, I'll put it on your stage.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
A
no.
lot of your stuff comes into play.
Oh, really?
Graphics stuff.
Neighborhoods, a lot of MBOs, expert, real estate valuation, adjustment,
Interesting. I hope it,
Yeah, I saw Steve up there with Bag of Donuts. He looked like he was starting to move a little bit. I saw you up there with Bag of Donuts. Looked like you were starting to move a little bit.
I was early.
I went to the back.
Thursday night, that was.
I went to the back Thursday night. It was so hot that I didn't even
doing well in yourself. How you doing, sir? Doing well in yourself?
Gentlemen, how are you, sir?
Look, I'm gonna need it. And they still ain't saying nothing about it. Somebody asked me, you had gonna roll now. Oh, somebody outside.
I had a Zoom meeting out before this.
There's some power
Thank
on the other side, hang on.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, here it is.
Right here, it's right here, Michael. That's who do it. So it is, it's tough one, it's tough lines. Oh, yeah.
We may have to rearrange it all, depending on, where
And
our
then,
power.
do you think that map right there, we can actually maybe take it over it? Right.
I got an easel. I don't know if it'll hold on the easel, but it'll certainly take on that.
Yeah, the tape on that.
Okay.
Good.
You wanna take it to the easel?
I don't know if it'll do it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how we did it last time.
Yes, sir.
Would you please? Just a couple of little pieces.
Sure.
Thank you.
You don't know why.
We're gonna trend on Jones real estate.
Roll out. Embarrassment is what I like to see. He's still in a quote.
Yeah, July. Yeah, July.
I'm thinking that.
No, he said.
But he'll look out. We're gonna be putting on no why.
Yeah. They wanted somebody that wasn't.
Yeah, we can. Put it on the wall, on the string line.
Oh, they didn't even put it here. Didn't even put it here.
There's still more plugs than the next strip down there. We got plenty of.
Just unplug it.
Judge has all the power.
Oh, absolutely.
All the power.
She's pushing bills, be careful. You can't read your person, so.
That's all.
Good, Lord. Let the screen.
All right, now we got it.
Yeah, now we
Now
got
we
it.
get it.
At least get your voting record.
Put it on, I'll come stand around on the other end, that way they can see it. Okay.
I'm not saying that you can.
Yeah.
You just have to do all the
Let's see who's.
You have to do like a body
You know,
hanging.
down to the
All
age of
the
vacation.
operation. Somebody like that, I think that would come out the street,
Yeah.
man.
You gotta do it.
Oh, look, man. For me, it's the procedure.
That's Tom. Ready? Okay.
All right, pledge of allegiance. Mr. Reggie?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Vocation, Mr. Woodward.
Everybody please bow your heads. Our precious and glorious Father, we come to you right now, my Father, first to say thank you that you allowed us to see another day. And we also want to thank you for keeping us done today, my Father. We come to you right now, my Father, so you give us strength, guidance, and wisdom so we can take over the daily fast of the city of Crowley, my Father. Let us all get on one accord and do what's right, decent, and in His order. We ask all this in your daughter's son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
All right, thank you. Mr. Samuel, come on in the chair.
I'll probably sit in the pews.
Okay.
October 4th, 2021, City of Crowley Special Council Meeting Notice. You are hereby notified that a special council meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Crowley will be held on Tuesday, October 19th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the City Council Chambers at 426 North Avenue F, Crowley, Louisiana. The purpose of said meeting will be to consider a plan of redistricting and discuss the changes to be submitted by Mike Hefner, Chief Demographer of Geographic Planning and Demographic Services, to adjust the district boundaries between Ward 1 and Ward 3 in accordance with the declaration and resolution of the Board of Aldermen adopted on the 8th day of September 2021. 2, to consider a resolution introducing an ordinance to change the district boundary between Ward 1 and Ward 3 as necessary to balance the population of the election districts in accordance with the results of the United States Census Bureau's 2020 census population counts and the PL 94-171 reapportionment data delivered to the state of Louisiana. Signed, Tim Monso, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Just to let everyone know, we are only here tonight as a workshop. So number 2, or letter B, will not be considered this evening. We will not be taking action. And we will only be considering the plan of redistricting, and that's why we have Mr. Hefner here for questions and answers. And then whenever the council decides, we'll let Mr. Reagan know before we leave tonight what your decision may be and what you may like. You let Mr. Reagan know, and what he'll do is he'll form up a resolution, and we'll have that ready for our next meeting, so that way we can make it in time. Thank you so much.
Mayor, rather than make any decisions tonight, since there are at least 2 plans presented, someone may have another question or another alternate plan. And that's why I was telling you, I did not prepare an ordinance introduction tonight, so we don't have anything to look at. Because when you make that decision, you need to look at those plans. With the input, I think, Mr. Hefner, we can make a better decision. And there may be someone who has an alternate plan that they want to submit that we need to consider. therefore, you would, have the opportunity at your regular meeting to, well, simply, I'll have different descriptions inserted into the ordinance that will be prepared. It will amend the entirety of the ordinance, but the only thing that will actually change would be that description where those boundaries are different between Ward 1 and Ward 3. So only the descriptions in Ward 1 and Ward 3 will be changed. It will be actually a very small change. It will have a great deal of difference in terms of compliance with the statutes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reagan. Ms. Jones, could you do a roll call, please?
Jeff Cavell,
Here.
Brad Core,
Here.
Clint Crater,
Here.
Lyle Fogelman, Vernon Martin, Stephen Primo, Sammy Reggie,
Here.
Kim Stringfellow, and Byron Wilridge.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll begin. Mr. Hefner, where is he? Okay. Mr. Hefner, go ahead.
I'm here.
Thank you, Mayor.
Members of the council.
Press the mic, please.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Good seeing y'all again. For those that don't know me, Mike Hefner with Geographic Planning Demographic Services, based out of Lafayette. Do this work after each census been first started with the 1990 census. And been doing it since. This will be my fourth one. And what we have here this evening, y'all had seen earlier the resolution that, I'll bring it up just so we can take a quick review of it, which was your determinations. And actually, this is the memo that I sent out with regards to that. After each census is taken, you have to take your current election districts and recalculate the population with the new census counts to see if you're still in balance. Each of you should have approximately the same number of people that you represent, so your vote is equal. It's a one man, one vote criteria. Since I've been doing yours for at least the last 2 or 3 census cycles, I have all that data, so I do those calculations for you. You'll see that you take the city of Crowley's population, you divide it by the 4 wards that you have, it gives you an average population of 2,928. All of y'all have equal numbers. The population actual count changes a little bit though when you do it by district. District 1, for example, ended up with 3,102 people, which is 174 persons above that average, or expressed as a percentage at 6% on the high side. Then I have the single race, white and black, there for you, so you can see that. District 2, on the other hand, was 2,971. It was only 43 above that, or 1%. District 3, or Ward 3, was 2647, which was 281 below that average, so it was minus 10%. District 4, Ward 4 is 2% above. If any district goes outside or plus or minus 5% on these new calculations, that's what triggers redistricting. That's a state and federal law that's in place. So you have to redistrict because you have 2 of your districts are outside of the plus or minus 5%. Now that, sometimes you can just work with the 2 that are out. Sometimes you get a domino effect where a neighboring district might have a boundary adjusted here or there to compensate for a change that took place. But these are the numbers that we're taking a look at. This Ward 3 is your traditional majority minority district. One of the things that we have to do under Section 2, which is good, is that we need to come up with a plan that maintains a viable majority minority district so that minority population, minority residents in the city have representation on this council. So you don't want to draw a plan that deliberately eliminates that or weakens it to the point where it's no longer a viable district. Usually that's, from a practical standpoint, that's usually around 55% or higher. Technically, it's 50% plus 1, but we've always looked at it from a viability standpoint, which is usually 55% or higher. So these are the numbers that are triggering it. You were sent some maps. I worked up a couple of variations on that. mostly trying to clean up some lines. Sometimes the numbers don't work out real well, and sometimes you have some zigzags that you don't want to have, but unfortunately you have no choice but to live with it. I know this may be a little hard, so I do these real informally. If you need to get up and see an area, if you need me to enlarge something, let me know. Same thing with the audience. I can change the size of the street names, and I can change the colors if you find that they're too dark. Just let me know it works. But the dark red line that you see right here are the current election districts. Okay, so let's take an example right here. Currently, District 2 came up and picked up this area out by the hospital. And so it came in, picked this little area up, and then it kind of zigzagged over here, which was probably a municipal boundary at the time. Since then, this is all part of the city. So on here, even though I didn't necessarily need for 2, remember 1 was a little high, so we wanted to make some adjustments. So this one is really probably a 0 population block. Let's just see if my memory is there. As I click on these blocks here, you'll see this little window right here change with numbers. These tell me how many people are in those little blocks, like that red area right here that we have. There's 127 people in there, of which 124 are white, 3 are black. It tells me what my deviation would be if I assign it to another district and what it would do to the one that's giving that up. So that's how this works. So if there's any changes that you want to model, it's real easy because the software does the work for us. But I went through and worked through a number of configurations. One of the things we try to do is not do a fruit basket turnover on your districts, which is basically starting from scratch and coming up with something completely different. What you want to do is use your existing districts and make as little adjustments as you need to in order to get them all back in balance. That helps eliminate voter confusion. Last 10 years, people have been voting for their council member in their wards, and you just don't want to make a huge change. You need to make a change to balance them, but you don't need to make a huge change. But that red line is where your existing boundaries are. Most of the changes between plans 1 and 2 is between wards 1 and ward 3, because 1 was low and 1 is high. The numbers that you see up here are actually from, take that off right there, this is plan 1 right here. And these numbers up here are plan 2, because I can only do 1 at a time, but I'm putting the layout for 1 up here. Plan 1, I just initially came in and picked up this area here to balance it out. That was coming in on East 10th and coming up Western, and then coming over on, Northern, East Northern, West Northern, yeah, because it's past the line there. All right, and then to the boundaries. Okay, so that would put, the area in green would go to Ward 3, and it would come out of Ward 1. Let me pull up what those demographics would be real quick. Those are what the demographics are under that configuration. Brings 1 down to -5, 2 is at a +1, 3 is at a +2, 4 is at a +2. Let's take a look at our minority populations. Since we're dealing with 3, we're at 82% on voting age population, which is the Census Bureau calculates everyone that's 18 years of age and older as of April 1st of the year the census is taken. So this would have been April 2020. Not necessarily registered voters, but eligible to be registered to vote. So that's what that number represents, 18 plus. It's voting age population. Your total population is at 83%. So you see that the changes we made rebalanced your deviations, rebalanced your population of your district, but we had no negative effect on the minority representation. So that brings everything into balance here. And since 1 was growing, I kind of left it on the low end, figuring that it may continue to grow the next few years, and and that will give it a little bit more legs. It won't be out of balance quite as soon as it would be if we had that as a +5. So, taking a look at that, when I was here to discuss the resolution on the determination, I did pick up on some comments from Alderman from Ward 3 about that little hump right here, that little one block. I believe this is the area that you're talking about. I didn't have the map up at the time.
More than one block.
Okay. But this one, I believe, was this is what I at least was interpreting it. So I went back and I said, well, what can we do on that? And that's where Plan 2 was. Now remember, you have to gain population and you have to gain the right kind of population to keep your numbers up. So on this one, I just went up by one block to, that's 12th Street, West 12th Street, and came over to Parkinson, right here. So this area here would go into Ward 3 and come out of Ward 1. Now these numbers are correct. Ward 1 under this has a -3.24% deviation, and Ward 3 has a 0.41 on the negative side. So they're well within balance. That's what these numbers here represent. I'll put that up so you can see them a little better. Back down. So you'll see here, these are the numbers you're shooting for if everybody was equal. You see that they're a little bit closer. The deviation is -95 for District 1 or -3.24. And then 2 and 3 are well within it, and 4 is as well. So these are real good on deviations. You'll see that your minority population on here is at 82.65, rounds up to 83%. Your voting age population is looking well on that, right that way. So it's 82.5%. So that's what the two plans that you have before you. Just two different ways of looking at it. You can mix and match some of that. The good thing is, if you have some ideas as to where you want to see those lines change a little bit, then we can model that and see if the numbers work for us, and if they don't. If we put in a change and you like it, then we keep it. If you don't like it, we take it out. And the same thing with those in the audience. If they have any suggestions that they would like to see, it's not a problem at all being able to do that. While y'all think about that for a moment, I'm going to clean this map up just a tiny bit. Get those two medians out right there. 0 population. There we go. I got one right over here. Right there. Get those medians out. 0 population, no effect. Now, one thing I do like to try to take a look at is where your precinct boundaries are. Even though the size that Crowley is not one that you can really use precincts to build your plan with, but I do like to try to keep an eye on them so that if we have a precinct boundary like we have here with North Parkinson, I like to try to use it if we can. It's easier for the registrar to be able to reassign the voters in that area if they know that they're within that precinct. Once we start going over a precinct, then they have to do more address matching with their ranges. But it just makes things a little bit cleaner. So now if you're like New Orleans and Baton Rouge, a lot of your plan will be built by precincts. Your school board here and your police jury here have to use precincts to build their plan. But on municipalities, we generally use census blocks. And that's what these are. These are census blocks. They're the smallest geographic unit that the census collects data for. That one census block there has 19 people. And we have a whole lot of information tied to that. But we just, for reportionment purposes, we're looking at population and the breakout by race and the voting age population. Once you get out of town, though, some of your boundaries are a little different because they use physical features to make their boundaries, so you can actually go out and see where those boundaries are, with the exception of your municipal boundaries, which are largely non-visible. That's a non-visible up here, but this is not. But some of your blocks, like we saw over here, they're a little awkward looking because they didn't have any physical features behind the hospital to draw the line. So if they go and they follow the closest physical boundary they can. If it's a street that's a boundary, it's the center line of the street, it's not a right of way, it's the center line. Same thing, if it's a water feature, power line, it's gonna be the center line. All right, enough of me talking. Do y'all have any questions or anything that y'all would like to see?
You got a question?
Sure.
Okay, now the first one that you're going to Northern,
On plan one?
yeah, you're going to Northern, okay? So that would give us basically a third, well, I think it'd be a lot easier, because now you got main drags, you got Northern, you got Western, you got Parkinson. Now it goes all the way to, with that going to Northern, how far does it go all the way to what street heading south?
Heading
Heading west,
south.
heading west, I'm sorry, heading west.
Heading west is going to go to the municipal boundaries, out here. These are your municipal boundaries.
Well, that's what I'm asking, so basically, it goes all the way to Capitol Drive? It takes you to
Yes.
Westwood,
Mhm.
it bypasses, Katniss and Methodist. But I'm asking which street, coming off of Northern, which is the, is that Blue Rose?
This is Westwood?
No, go up a little bit, head, follow, like, go a little bit further. No, there you go, right there,
Okay, all right.
right there. You got Mockingbird, then you got, what is that, Blue Rose?
Yeah.
Okay, so our boundary would be Blue Rose or the street behind it, which one would it be?
Well, it's the city, right away, I mean, the city of, city limits.
Your city limit line.
Well, that's what I'm asking, where does the city limit line end at? That was never part of our district before, so I never worried about it.
Behind the houses on the road?
That's what I'm asking.
Yes, it
Okay.
takes in both sides of the roads. Yeah, because the boundary goes past the center line of the road, so both sides of the roads are in Ward 3 under.
So in layman's terms, you're telling me when we hit the gates of Katniss and Meadows, is that where it ends at?
That's the boundary line, yes, sir.
Okay, that's,
That is,
yeah, okay.
that is your
All right.
proper limit line, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's right where it crosses right there.
Okay.
The other thing I like about this plan, Mike, I'll say about now is the weight limit. Also, you use Western Avenue as the eastern boundary there, which is heading sort of southeast. And that's another easily defined boundary that people are well familiar with. They can see it, you know, and they understand where their voting precinct is. By doing that, whereas if you have to, in the plan two, you change, you would actually have to change the voting precinct, is that correct?
That is correct. This one actually, that's one reason on Plan 1 I went in that direction, was because of the precinct boundary.
Right.
Trying to get it where it shows up.
Yeah, I think about.
That pink area right here, this is your precinct boundary right here. That's one reason I went north on the Plan 1. And then 2 just kind of took it from this way and just went straight across instead of this area.
Okay, so we leaving from 10th Street and we heading to, going to 12th Street?
It was rather than moving on to 12th Street.
Well, I'm asking, okay, so basically, where it is right now, when we cross Western, 10th Street,
10th Street.
we are the south side of 10th Street. Does it stay that way, or do we gain the 12?
Plan one stays well.
You gain 12.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so we gain 12th Street, right?
That's correct.
You
That's
gain
correct.
12th and the west and the south side of Northern. And then what's good about this one is that the precincts don't change. The people still go vote at the same place. They don't get confused.
So, in just layman's terms, the new boundaries right now, if we decide to accept it, will go from 10th Street to 12th Street to, from 12th Street to Northern, from 12th Street to Parkinson, correct? And then we go from Western to Northern.
Goes from the original boundary from 11th Street to Northern. See, the green gets taken in to the purple.
Well, yes, I understand
This
that,
is
but,
gonna stay in that.
well, that's what I just asked, does it go from 10th Street to 12th Street? So, yes. So it stays at 10th Street, am I right?
Yes.
So it doesn't take, well, why was I told it was going to 12th Street? So it stays at 10th. 10th Street is our natural boundary right now, the south side of 10th Street.
Right.
So it stays there.
Yes, 10th Street right here.
Okay, that's, okay, all right, I'm good.
He had that little
Pick up
hump
that
coming up to
square.
the left,
Right.
and then came back down.
He takes
Yeah,
in,
you pick up that square, it's part of your precinct.
picks up that green square for the red line, north of the red line.
Yeah, so Northern would be, Western and Northern would be our guidelines from here on out.
pretty much.
Okay, that's fine. I'm good with that.
Yeah, me too. And the precincts stay the same. So that way all the people who were voting before go to the same place again, no matter if each district change. So there's no confusion at all to the voters.
That's
I
correct.
think one is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, one actually, I like it because it follows precinct lines to a large extent. Two was just another variation, it didn't follow it quite to the same extent, but it balanced it out, so it's really a matter of preference. We had a little bit of cleaning up some lines with some of the other areas, but they all kind of take advantage of the grid pattern that Crowley has right now. They're a lot cleaner than they were in 2010, because we were driven by the numbers on that one as well. That's why you had the little block coming up on Ward 3.
Just for your information, I did talk to Mrs. Stringfeld about it because this does affect her and she wasn't able to be here tonight. But she said she was fine with either one or two.
Yep.
So I think we're all good.
Yeah, she told me that last night as well. She said, Mayor, I'm good with either one. I'm not speaking for her, but I'm telling you what she said to me.
And really, the only difference between 1 and 2 is where we put the line between wards 1 and 3. So really, it's a matter of what the preference is. The way I look at it, what is
Hey, you read
the alderman feels the best line?
the registrar of voters, the registrar of voters office is gonna appreciate that.
Yeah, they'll like, well, Plan 1 will be a little easier to implement.
What is the population plus on it as we're talking about right now?
With Plan 1,
Yeah, how many do we gain?
let's see.
Ward 3.
Ward 3, your deviation is at a 2%, whereas before it was at a -10. So you had, right now, with your current district, you had 2,647. 2647. So you will be getting. Hey, what does that? There we go. All right. Let's try this again. Figure that out. So you got 29 something, you're gonna be taking that out, so you'll be doing this, so, no, I'm sorry. Look the way I wanted it to, give me a minute. Technology doesn't always work when you want it to. All right, you had 2972, and we're going to be taking that from your 2647, you're gaining 325 people.
I think. And I think the good thing, looks like you took into account the 85 housing development that's gonna be in that district also, that's gonna add some population to that, so it's gonna balance out in the long run.
Yeah.
I think there was some concerns about that. I know Brad was concerned about that also. And so I think it's great.
But that's Ward 1.
Yeah, that's why I left Ward 1 low.
Ward 1's down, but with that development coming up, it's gonna bring it back up, so it's gonna be fair for everybody.
That's why he's at a negative, that's why you put it on a deviation, you have that -5 for anticipation of growth. Is that correct?
That's correct. Since it grew, this is one that grew a lot, and it's gonna grow some more, that's why I put it on the low end. I mean, I could have taken a couple of blocks out and brought it down to, probably 2 to 3%, but I know it's gonna end up growing, so you might as well accommodate that way you can, if we can in this case. And others, you all looking good, within 1% of each other.
So now at this point, Mike, if there's no more questions, and everybody's satisfied with one, and then all we have to do is resubmit that to Mr. Tom. Tom forms up a resolution, and we come back at the next month's meeting, and, yes.
Yeah, you handle it like you do any other, business with the council. Y'all do yours by resolution, so I'll work up the district description, give them to Tom, he'll draft the resolution, you introduce it, or bring it up for your meeting, and have a normal process, that's how it generally works. These workshops generally serve as a public hearing, because this is a real good opportunity, it's very informal, the public can weigh in on it. It's a good time to weigh in on it, because this is when it's in the formation stage. But once you get to a plan that you like, then you might as well go forward with it.
I think we like it.
That sounds like it too.
Right, and then we're gonna have another public hearing, because once we pass the resolution to adopt it, and then we also have to set a date for our ordinance and have another public hearing.
That is correct.
Okay?
That is correct.
Mr.
That's what we
Hackman,
normally do.
got a question, Mr. Hackman. When you look at these census blocks, for instance, on Plan 1, the area to be incorporated, you actually are able to obtain information about how many citizens are in each household? I'm just curious, where do you get that information from?
How many people are in each census block? I can figure out how many, the average persons per household, because I also have the number of housing units in each one of those census blocks. They don't differentiate here on citizens, like they had the big debate last year about including citizens only or total population. It was determined, that was one reason it got delayed with the change in administration. They switched from counting citizens to everybody, so they had to retabulate some things. But that's what we end up with. Those are people that responded to the census. These are the ones, if you live in an area and you didn't respond to the census, you're not counted in those numbers. It's only the ones that respond to the census. Now, the Census Bureau does do estimates through their American Community Survey. So if you look at your census count for Crowley, and then you look at your 2020 5-year running average of the estimate, you're gonna find the estimate's higher, because it's counting people that didn't necessarily respond to the census. But the numbers come from the Census Bureau. It's a specific file they have to produce by law, and it's Public Law 94-171. And that directs the Census Bureau, the first data to release is for reapportionment purposes, which will give total population, voting age population, and break out by race and ethnicity. That's what we work with.
All right, thank you.
All right, if no further questions, ask for motion to adjourn. Oh, public? Does public have any questions or any comments? Okay, all right. All right, no, ask for a motion to adjourn, please. Offered by Mr. Krieger. Seconded by Mr. Martin. Doug?
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Hampton. Thank you very much, Mr. Hampton. Yes, sir. Yeah, very straightforward.
Yes, sir.
I work